you can totally get bigger. As you guys all know, there are Instagram models who are quite big, so it's totally doable. Sometimes you just need an outside eye or some additional support to help you get there.
Welcome back to On the Horizon. This is MelRose Michaels. I am your host, and I'm here to share what's worked for me in building my adult creator business to try to make building yours just a little bit easier. Let's get into today's episode. If you're an adult creator trying to crack the Instagram code and build social media that actually makes you money, this episode is about to change the game for you. My guest today, she's got 5 million Instagram followers, over 10 million across her platforms, and has turned her online presence into a full-blown empire. One that has bought her a 45-acre ranch, built major stock investments, and funded her art career. And the kicker, she's done all of this while navigating shadow bans, algorithm changes, and the unique challenges adult creators face online. Today, Anna Artist, also known as Courtney Rose, joins me to break down exactly how she built her massive following, her top strategies for keeping engagement alive, and most importantly, how to turn your audience into real income. So if you are tired of fighting the algorithm, stuck at growth plateau, or just want to know the secrets to thriving on Instagram as an adult creator, you need to keep listening. Anna Artist hasn't just built an online empire with millions of followers. She's also the founder of Your Best Insta, where she coaches models on social media growth and monetization. A master of self-promotion on a leveraged media coverage and email list before pivoting to social media, where she strategically built multiple personas to expand her influence and income. Her online success has funded a 45-acre ranch, stock market investments, art career, and this coaching business. Now a mother of 2, she focuses on mentoring other creators, proving that a strong social media presence isn't just about the numbers. It's a financial powerhouse that can create life-changing opportunities. Anna, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you on. You have no idea.
Thank you. I am so excited to talk to you. I have loved your work from the beginning. And I love what you guys are doing with school. It's so great. You have such a beautiful community going. So I'm really honored to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. I think to just kind of kick off, maybe for those who aren't as familiar with you, can you give us a quick intro, kind of your background and what you do in the industry?
Yes, absolutely. So I started in the adult industry back in 2010. So I've been at it for a bit. And my first foray into it was actually using the persona Sarah White, the Naked Therapist. And I put out a press release. And if you Google that phrase, Sarah White or Naked Therapy, you'll see that it was covered in like thousands of media outlets, all the big ones. It was really, really a wild experience because I didn't know what I was doing when I started. And that was way back before social media really was a big deal. So that was my entree into it. It was a great experience. I loved it. And then I was like, it's Naked Therapy was very one-on-one. So it was one-on-one camming. I wanted to go bigger and broader. And in 2015, I started my Instagram literally at zero. It started at zero. I just finished a degree, my master's degree in art because I have a background as an artist. And from 2015 on, I really just found that Instagram was the main platform that really loved me and I loved it. I spent a lot of time on it. I created content for it and I grew organically. So all just through suggestion and suggestion, explore views on Instagram. So no promo to 5 million. And it's been really fun. I've loved it. And then I started around 2020, I started coaching other models how to do that first on Instagram. And then I've expanded onto other platforms and as well as other personas. So I've kind of experimented with how to grow a social media presence from zero with different personas as well.
I love that. This is something we've been talking about a lot at SWCEO, where we have like different niches having their own profiles and then kind of pointing them towards a main. I'm curious to get into your strategy, but before we do that, I did notice you've been in the industry over a decade. So when you first got started compared to now, I'm curious how your career's evolved over time.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say like before OnlyFans was came around, it was more work to monetize. It's incredible. Like now with OnlyFans, I know there are can be a lot of annoying things about the platform, but just as someone who was there before OnlyFans, the great thing about OnlyFans is like everyone's on it. So the conversion is so much better than any other platform that I found or built myself. I used to have like a private website, but I shut that down when I got onto OnlyFans and found how much traffic there was there. So I know now sometimes like there are other platforms coming up, but it really seems that OnlyFans is still just like a really great place to be. And it's a really smooth entry point for both consumer and creator, I think.
Yeah, so you had your own website, you moved into OnlyFans, and is this where like primary revenue is getting made? Is just the fan site platform?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we should get into like what everyone's dying to hear, which is about your Instagram success. So with all of your followers on Instagram, how did you kind of start to build your audience? What was like from zero to, I don't know, maybe 50K? Like what was the primary thing you focused on?
So I will say this is back in 2015, 2016, around when I started growing. But what I learned is that if you post great content, other pages, I call them collection pages. So they're often like, they have a lot of growth on them. They'll post you, they'll tag you, and that will send traffic to you. Now that might be super obvious. At the time, it was like kind of a aha moment to realize that that could work. And then we would do this sort of really organic SFSing. So like if somebody tagged me with a pic on their page, let's say they're called like long-legged girls, I would like in a caption, I'd be like, thank you, long-legged girls, for adding me, tagging me. And then it was a very sort of natural way to develop because this was also before story SFS. So it was this kind of exchange with first collection pages when I was small because they like my content. And so I do believe it all goes back to content and creating really strong Instagram specific, beautiful. I call it Instagram candy, creating Instagram candy content, like the kind of content that the algorithm just loves, that the Explore page loves. That's what I started doing then. And then it started going that way. That probably, yeah, that definitely got me to 50K, probably higher. I would say later I started introducing more SFS with other models, first on profile and then in story. And then I would say around like 3 million-ish. That's when I really started doing lives, and that really got me to 5 million. So yeah, those have been the main strategies that I've used over time.
When you talk about the kind of content that Instagram and the algorithm loves, like what is that to you? What does that look like to you? What kind of content is that?
Yeah, excellent question. So I judge this based on what I post that performs well as what I see other models posting who I know have grown organically through Instagram that does well. So what the big models are posting, but again, it's not the big models who have paid, $100,000 or I don't know, just a lot of money to get their Instagram there. It's those who have really grown through the algorithm. And so I assess that to be natural light. Natural light just always does better. It's more beautiful. A really, again, candy-ish touch-up process where you can see the skin. So it's not too over-touched. It doesn't look like there's a filter being used. It almost doesn't look like there's even touch-up happening. But in order to have the edge in the Instagram algorithm, you gotta typically do some touch-up. Because the competition is fierce out there imagistically. So I look for natural skin color, natural skin texture, and natural skin tone, which tone and color is kind of similar, but you want it to look real. You want followers potential followers to feel like they could reach out and touch you, that you're so real. It's just right there, right in front of them. I would also say that open body language is a very good thing to do. So you want to think about not like, let's say, putting your hands over your boobs or always crossing your legs or something. You want to think really open body language. And then having fun always helps as well. And let's see, I think those are the basics that I'll start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then with your kind of reach, like, have you had to navigate the constant challenge of like platform restrictions? We know Instagram is notorious with shadow banning and, deplatforming adult creators. Is that something that you actively tried to work around while you're growing? Is there any tips to keeping accounts safe?
Yes, totally. I have a list of things for free that I share. That's what you should not do to not get deleted. And there are a list of things that I have compiled since I've been on there, all the things that I've seen people do that has gotten either, let's say, something taken down or their account deleted. So there are a number of things, and I am always paying attention to that. I would say the main thing is you want to stay on the safe side. Obviously, you never want to directly say or link to OnlyFans as your link in bio. You can have a link in bio which links to a page that has OnlyFans on it, but you never want to put OnlyFans as your link in bio. There are a number of things like that, but for me, I am always paying attention to that. I'm in touch with a lot of models who share what is being taken down, what is being taken down. But I would say, and I'm also always adjusting what I create. So the content that I created back in 2015 for Instagram is very different than what I create now. And it's always working within I think of it as a structured improvisation. So Instagram is like, these are the rules, and I work within the rules, and I always do my best to follow them. Sometimes I'll still get stuff removed for sure. And my main account has gone down twice. So I have faced that. And a lot of models who are around for a while face that. But the real good news at this point is that Instagram is made to be a long-term platform to be on. And every model I know who's like at least somewhat safe has been able to get their account back. So it's, oh yeah, and then I'll also say that when I do get stuff flagged, I always just move safer. So I have like multiple folders on my computer. The content is foldered mild and medium. If I'm posting medium content and some of it's getting flagged, I just go to all mild. I call it mild mode. So yes, it's always, unfortunately, a process of facing that kind of restriction.
If you're enjoying this podcast episode so far, please take one moment to share it with another one of your adult content creator friends, because you know what the rule is here. We do not gatekeep, and we want to make as many adult creators' businesses as easy as possible. And you sharing this episode with them might do exactly that. Thanks so much in advance.
When creators are, trying to manage and keep their accounts alive, engagement becomes this other challenge, I'm wondering what your tips and strategies for engagement might look like.
Yeah. So I find that engagement happens. You can definitely ask questions in your captions. That's sort of the most common way to try to build engagement, or in your stories. I've always found that engagement happens fairly naturally. I do try to respond to comments some, but I don't do it. I probably don't do it as much as I should, but I do try to respond to comments like people's comments. But I have to say that I find overall that engagement tends to happen fairly naturally when the content is good.
Okay. I mean, that's like always the number one thing we hear about is like, although it can be frustrating for seeing low engagement, more often than not, it's not actually any shadow ban that's happening. It's actually that the content isn't performing well. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Yes. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating and can be annoying, but that is true.
You are someone who's super good at keeping up with the latest trends. So this is something else I've been really curious about because I followed you for a long time, but I'm wondering like what are the biggest kinds of shifts or challenges that you're specifically seeing right now for creators trying to go online?
Like for creators who are just starting out online or people or those who have been on for a while or both?
I would say like starting a new IG.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I think the challenge always with a new IG is basically just getting it started and getting it up, basically above, giving it a boost, getting it up above the baseline. So, because a lot of people are starting at, some small number, maybe they post a few times, they kind of give up because they're not seeing results. So the big challenge is just getting up over that push. And what I really recommend is, first of all, starting slow. So as you start, in that you don't want the first day post like 20 photos. You want to try to act like at your normal person who's starting an Instagram. So start posting slowly, but then you want to get yourself above that baseline and get yourself starting to see explore views. So what I'll say right now, what I see as the most powerful thing on Instagram for organic growth is explore views on photos. So it used to be reels. Prior to that, it was photos and reels. Now it's photos. And the real goal is getting explore views. So you want to make your account a creator account so you can see your insights. Then when you look at your insights, basically one method I really like right now is you shoot a bunch of different outfits. You get a good diversity of outfits, locations, vibes. If you know what I call your story. So if you know what your story and brand is, that's fantastic. Go with that. If you're still figuring it out, you can try shooting some different things. You post it and then you look at the insights and you see what is getting explore views. And that helps guide you in terms of shooting more of that kind of content, whether it's reshooting that outfit or reshooting that setup, or maybe it's a pose. You do the analysis and let that guide you. Now, sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you need a bit more of a boost. And in that case, it can be good to turn to my favorite thing is really lives right now because it's a super group lives, I should say. Sorry. Group lives, you go live with 4 models. You go live with 3 plus yourself. So a total of 4. It's really good for growth. It's just really natural growth. Instagram looks positively on it. You could do SFS, like SFS and story. That can just be a bit harder to arrange. I find that a lot of the Telegram groups that arrange SFS and story, people are often posting pretty risky stuff, and you don't want to be posting that. They can also be kind of spammy. So I always encourage either finding groups that you just know are good quality or reaching out to models directly on Instagram as opposed to Telegram. But then again, if the SFS isn't quite working, the lives are great. And those can be organized on Telegram or Instagram. I have a live group. I imagine maybe you guys would have a live group at some time, at some point. It's just a really great way to grow. So that helps you get above, basically, into the traffic, into the flow of where you're going to be picked up more to get more explore growth. So you have to do this kind of massaging at the beginning to kickstart your account.
When you're saying like this going live with 4 other accounts, etc., what do you guys do on live? Because obviously it's not like a live webcam situation because you have to be very safe for work. So like what kind of things are you doing on lives with other models? Are you guys actually interacting? Is there a game plan when you go live? Like what does that actually look like?
Great question. So it can look a lot of different ways. My favorite thing to do is to wear an outfit, and I do always encourage not just like a bra and underwear because that's considered risky, like a little shorts or a crop top over the bra or underwear. So like a little more dress, but it can still be sexy. And my favorite thing to do is just a little very casual, chill dancing. I'll sometimes have music on in the background, although you have to be very careful with that because you can get in trouble for playing copyrighted music or for talking. So My favorite thing is dancing or just sitting working on the computer. A lot of models will literally be like chatting on their OnlyFans while being live, and they're just like looking sexy while chatting. There is a method. And then I'll say some models will like organize, let's say, a bikini try on. And something where they're really interactive, or a yoga class where it's actually like super interactive and they're talking and the like. I prefer more towards what I call they're like silent lives where they are muted, because we have had issues with people saying things because they don't realize the rules or they forget what platform they're on, and they might say something and that can get you flagged. So I personally do prefer the muted lives. And you can also use a video to go live, and it's a pretty cool setup. I share it in my classes, but the basic idea of it is you point a let me see. You point your let's say your iPhone at an iPad, and you play a video on loop. So I definitely encourage, if you're gonna explore that you start by doing a number of lives, actually live first, to figure out what your vibe is, what you like to do on live. And then you can move into a video, and you can even have assistants run videos for you. There's a lot of actual flexibility there.
That's super interesting because I've heard about people doing pre-recorded lives on TikTok and growing very well, and I never really understood how they do it. That's a super simple way of going about it sounds like. And the silent lives make sense. When you're saying that you've had issues with people saying things, are you meaning like the other creators in the live saying the wrong thing on accident and like putting the accounts at risk? Or are you saying the actual fans typing in the comments say something and that can put your account at risk?
It's the other creators that say something. I don't think there's no known issues with what the actual commenters say.
Okay. Okay. And then I'm wondering too, for the creators who are feeling stuck, because there's so many creators in our community, especially that just talk about Instagram never works for them. They know they're shadow banned and it's just nothing seems to be working, or they think that, or maybe maybe they're actually constantly getting flagged for whatever they post. What would be the first thing you tell them to kind of start to turn things around?
So the first thing to do is to go into mild mode. So it's just to delete anything risky. You want to go through your archive as well. You want to delete anything risky that was in your archive. Make sure the account is just super clean. Remove any links, any references to OnlyFans or another website. You just don't need any of that. So I would recommend to basically do like a thorough fine-tooth comb, going through everything, make sure everything's squeaky clean. I've seen people, and I think this can work really well, to actually just shoot a bunch of really safe content. So literally like content that you're not expecting to even really hit explore or go viral, but just, let's say, full dresses. I guess that's or full clothing, to just shoot some super safe content and post that for a couple of weeks, and then start to introduce other content back in. Another thing to do is, and I haven't we haven't really spoken about it yet, but is starting a second account to try to get a fresh start. I do believe that all accounts are savable, that you don't ever need to throw out an account, even if it's been flagged. However, it can be hard to get the knowledge that you need about what content's doing well until that starts happening. So if you're unable to get past that hump on one account, it could be worth creating a second account for.
Okay. And then what I'm thinking too, because you spoke about trying to get pictures to land on the Explore page and about going live. Is there any other underrated or like unexpected growth strategies that you think work surprisingly well? Because I think most creators right now are still assuming Reels are like the end all be all for growing pages.
Yeah, totally. I know a number of creators right now who are going really well with photos, and I know like one or two who are growing really well with Reels. So I really think it's switched up since, I mean, it used to be absolutely Reels were unbelievably great. But I really think in the last year or two, it's switched back to photos, unless you have a specific kind of hook. I call it your magic device, like something that you do that's really exciting for your followers, and if it's video based. So I'm not sure if this is unexpected or not, but what I have been finding to work very well in photos is slightly sheer clothing. So there was a trend where really sheer clothing was working, and that I think is over. Instagram has picked that up, but there is still a sort of in between opaque clothing and super sheer clothing is slightly sheer clothing, and that right now is working great. So I found I have one dress in particular. It's a white dress that it just shows a bit of a shadow of pubic hair and a bit of a shadow of nipple and kind of the outline of the breast. And it does really amazing on an explore page. So again, that gets back to the idea of trying out different outfits and experiment, like really think about the kind of there was a black one that was, so this white dress is crochet, and I had a black crochet one that was also doing really well until suddenly it stopped doing well, but it did well for like a year. So it was a really good one too. So experimenting with different kinds of clothing I found to be really sort of unexpectedly good. And let me think. Why? Yeah, I think those are the main things. I'll let you know if I think of anything else.
No worries. The the big thing that like I find comes up when I'm talking with creators is that follower count might be great, but maybe it's not translating very well into income for them. And every creator is going to have either their fan site platform that's their priority or their home base, or maybe their cammers or streamers or something else. But getting that follower to convert to a paying customer in some aspect is very challenging. So I'm wondering, like, with a platform like Instagram and the following you have, how do you convert them effectively? Like, obviously Instagram is kind of a sales funnel in itself, and this is where you park your fans and you slowly try to get them to click a link in bio or link off of a story or what have you. But is there some tactic you have to getting those followers to convert to paying fans?
So I always find that when my content is great, guys know at this point what to do. They like know that they need to look at the link in bio. I don't think you need to say it anymore, partly because it is considered a bit risky to like push people towards it, to say click my link in bio or to like always be talking about it. So I'm really not a big fan of it. If someone really wants to, I would say they should totally use like a different wording about it. Like, have you seen my other place? Or I don't know, just like something different, like a different way of saying it. Or I'm going on adventures, something that fits in with your story, ideally that fits in with your brand. So I find that the most important thing when I look at my students' platforms is actually the flow from Instagram to OnlyFans, and that there's like essentially, yes, Instagram is the start of the funnel. It's amazing. You can reach so many people. Let's say you're posting great content. People are then clicking your link in bio because they know if they want to see more, that's what they should do. Then there's a landing page typically, and then there's the OnlyFans or other paid site next. So you want to make sure that it all is of the same person, the same persona, that you really feel, ideally you feel a little like you're going on a little journey to land there on the OnlyFans. But I've seen some people, like I guess for example, uh just have really different brands on their OnlyFans versus their Instagram. And I think that's confusing, and you can lose a lot of people that way. Like just for example, there's a student I had who had beautiful kind of 18-year-old vibe. And then you click through to her OnlyFans and it said she was a nurse and a medical student nurse. And it just it didn't make sense because on one side, she's kind of more of a sex kitten bomb. On the other side, she's studying as a student, and she was not having good conversion at all. And so working on that, fixing that up, making that streamlined, and figuring out which was the persona or the story that she really wanted to create more content for was really helpful for her.
You brought up story and persona and journey a couple times, and I think that that's a really interesting thing to focus on because a lot of creators, I don't know I mean, we do spend time building our brands and really thinking through that, but I'm wondering when you're talking about story and persona and then the journey from IG to OF and making sure they match, like, are you just speaking to the creator's brand or like when you say story, can you define that a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So I would say, yeah, and I have been using them somewhat interchangeably. I would say that persona, I think of that's like the biggest box. So like my Ona artist persona or my Courtney Rose persona is my Your Best Insta, my coaching persona. The other ones I've had, I have a pregnancy persona and I have a MILF persona. So those are those are my personas. That's like the big box. Then within, and I encourage people, I think I call it the YBI method, so the Your Best Insta method, and it has three things. It's story, show, and share. So then we get to story, which was in your question. And I think of story and brand is very similar. It's like, what do you care about? Who are you? What do you represent? Who are you what makes you unique? What is it that some guy is going to be like, oh, it was that girl whose post, or, oh, I'm seeing her post now again and I like it and I want to know more. She's like the one who lives in the desert on a rural farm. And I get that. I want to go see that. So that's the story. The next thing I talk about is show. And that's preparing for, doing, and touching up a photo shoot. So that's putting on the show that you're capturing, that you're turning into content, that you are then taking on to the next step, which is share. And share is about posting on all of your platforms. Let's say you take one piece of content, let's say it's a mild photo, and you want to post that. You can take just that one piece, you could post it on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, I'm forgetting the others, but you can just post one piece of content many different places, and creating a map of that content so that you're really effectively using it is, I think, really important. When I talk about the journey, that's a bit of a cross between maybe story and share, because the journey is that I was just talking about is the journey that your fan takes from when they first see an image or start to hone in and realize that you're a unique person, that you exist. And then they go on this journey where they end up at your OnlyFans, at your paywall, and then they hit join and subscribe. And then they're inside and they're on a whole nother journey. So yeah, and then so what I was saying is that you want your share to be in your story. You want your sorry, you want your story to be seamless across this share journey.
Okay, so for the share, when you're talking about distributing the content to like all of these platforms and like mapping that, are you sharing content across all of these social platforms at the same time? Is there some kind of cascading effect, like it gets shared on IG first, maybe Threads second, and maybe Twitter third, or is it all at once simultaneously the same day you drop it everywhere?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it is unique to each person what makes the most sense and how much content you have and how much you've created content for specific platforms. So for my own artist persona, it's pretty simple. It's like the clothes content. I will drop content on multiple platforms at the same time, but I have like a medium, I have a mild, a medium, a hot, and then what I call X. And it's each platform could have a different piece of content. So Blue Sky right now, I think I'm putting medium and hot content on. And I will clarify for my own artist persona, I don't have any nudity that's not behind my paywall. So I just chose that as my paywall line. And that's one really important thing to figure out with your story if you want to put nudity out for free, or what level of explicitness you want to put it out from not behind a paywall. I've tried other things with my other personas, and I think you can totally make different things work. It just, needs to fit in with your story, your brand. So for Own Artist, it was really simple, especially because she started out on Instagram and, there's an automatic wall there, right? You can't put nudity up there. So it was very simple for me to decide. on OnlyFans is where they see the nudity. So I also have a Twitter, and I show content that's too hot for Instagram, but not nude on Twitter. Same for Reddit. I try to show a sort of in-between content. However, when I'm funneling my followers, I don't send people from Instagram to Twitter, for example. I send everyone from Instagram to OnlyFans or from Twitter to OnlyFans. That's because for all the platforms, all the social media platforms, I am getting followers from the platform itself. That's why I'm on the platform. And I'm working hard to learn to figure out the mechanisms, how to reach more potential followers, and then again to bring them into my world, into my funnel. So there's just no reason for me to send someone from Instagram to Twitter.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Because also you're adding more stops along the way and more clicks, which usually converts worse, I would imagine.
Yes, exactly.
If there's creators listening that have kind of, listened to this episode, what do you really think is the one takeaway that you would want them to remember from today's conversation?
I would say that I love Instagram partly because it really provides a platform in which to figure out your brand and create your brand and explore who you are and your brand. So it's a great challenge, and it's an important challenge because it helps you to figure out what you need to figure out to have ultimately successful socials, which will lead to a successful OnlyFans. So I think it's so important. I don't do any OnlyFans promo, networking, none of that stuff. I send everyone from socials, and it makes for a page that's really high in subscriptions. I think everyone pretty much agrees when people are coming from socials, you tend to have a higher subscription base, and that's a higher regular income that you're not having to like hustle for in terms of like sexting or something. It's just really built in. So I love it. The other thing about Instagram, like I said earlier, it really is possible to keep your Instagram forever. So it becomes this great opportunity for you to take it into another direction if you want. Lots of models. Who is it? I think Genesis Lopez, I think, is her Instagram at right now. She started as a cam girl. Now she's a fit model, and she's just like taking it with her as she moves forward and does other things. So I think it's really worth it. Some people maybe are really focused on OnlyFans content, but I really believe you only need a certain amount of OnlyFans content and certain amount of time, like a limited amount of time spending on that. And if you're spending the majority of your time on socials, getting people over there, that's going to just be, you're going to make more money that way. And you're going to have more social power. And in my opinion, it's just more fun. Like I really find it super fun. And I guess the last thing I would say is you want to try on Instagram, you want to try the things I said, you want to try to make it work. And if for some reason it's not working, you need to reach out to other people to get feedback. You could reach out to other models, other people in the Sex Work CEO community. And myself, you could reach out to me and be like, I need advice. I'm missing something. I'm not seeing something. What do you see, and how can I get bigger, essentially? Because you can totally get bigger. As you guys all know, there are Instagram models who are quite big, so it's totally doable. Sometimes you just need an outside eye or some additional support to help you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think collaboration is almost always the best outcome, like the answer to so many problems, especially in the creator economy. One of the things we like to do, and we've recently introduced, is that at the end of each episode, we like to have our guests leave a question with our audience to answer and like for them to kind of think about. And then they'll tweet us their response using hashtag OTWpod so that kind of everyone listening in the episode can join the conversations that we're having. So if you had one question to ask everyone listening, what would that question be?
That's a very good question. Okay. I would say, what is your story on Instagram? So and maybe I think of it as your energy triangles. So like, what are the three big things that define your brand?
That is a great question. That is a great question.
Thank you.
When you talk about this three big things, what would yours be for your brand, for an example?
Yeah, great. So for Ona artist, an artist is the first one. I think of sort of lower middle class Americana. So Americana, sorry, is the right phrase, but like kind of like the desert rural vibe of that. And then the all natural. So for me, it's no body modifications, the really kind of natural, crazy big hair, um, super intimate vibes. So yeah, would be my three: the Americana, artist, and all natural.
So perfect. And then I guess to kind of begin to wrap up, if anyone's listening that wants to follow and reach you, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, awesome. So please follow my Your Best Insta X if you're here right now. I actually don't check DMs here on this X, my own artist one. It is Courtney Rose here, the speaker, who's a speaker. So please follow that account. Please reach out to me there. I would say the best place is actually probably Telegram. That's where I see the most. I get messages. I see them. And my Telegram username is Your Best Insta. So please message me there. I have a free Instagram informational group, and it has that list about what you should not be doing. It also has a guide on how to do Instagram lives. And then we also have a live group and SFS group there too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anmol, for hanging up with us there. I really appreciate it. Now, as we wrap up, I do want to say, like something Anna mentioned in today's episode, when you're trying to figure out those three big things about your brand, we do have something that can help with that. If you haven't already heard, GPTXASX's first technology tool has now been released, and it's essentially a ChatGPT-like product for adult creators, except it doesn't have those content policies. So it's made specifically for us, by us, and it can help you do everything from scripting your spicy videos, writing social media captions that convert, helping you craft bios for your platforms, inspire new content ideas, and so much more. But if you wanted to go in and prompt it and describe what kind of creator you are, what kind of content you make, kind of the vibes of where you live aesthetically and the rest, it could very easily help you figure out those three core things about your brand to help you write your story. So if this is interesting to you, you can use it completely free. Just head over to GPTXASE.ai and you can use that AI product. Now, I hope you guys got so much value from listening today. I know I learned a lot. So I want you to really think and set an intention to take today's insights and turn them into income, because we all know that potential means nothing without taking action. So it is now your turn, CEO Squad, to go be bad and build a business. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
It would be absolutely incredible if you rated this podcast 5 stars and left a little review. We want to get this podcast to as many adult creators as possible, and you taking a second to leave a couple stars and a review really helps us do that. Thanks so much.